I believe that more people would be alive today if there were a death penalty. Nancy Reagan. Hi, my name is Gracie Arneman, and today I'm going to persuade you on why capital punishment is a good idea and good for the United States. Today, we do not hear or see many people get capital punishment or the death penalty, as most people know it. This happens when the crime that you commit is no way forgivable, and you're not able to pay it off. The death penalty was a huge thing in the 1990s, and that is when it was at its highest in the United States. So a bunch of people really went for the death penalty and believed that it was the best thing to do at that time. I wanted to know more about this topic because I've heard two different sides of it. So I've heard it's immorally ethically not right, and then it's a good thing to do for us, and I see it in a bunch of crime shows, death penalty, so I just wanted to do this over it because I wanted to know more about it and choose my side after knowing more about it. So I am for the death penalty now. But before I go any further, I wanted to make it clear that I only believe in the death penalty if someone goes on a mass murder or something that absolutely no human should ever be thinking to do, killing hundreds of people. I believe death penalty should be enforced that only. Capital punishment is a good thing for the world because it appeases the victims and their families, keeps criminals from committing more crimes, and is a very painless/humane way to pass. First, capital punishment is a way to give victims and their families a form of relief from pain and suffering that they have had to go through. This can help families and victims get closure and help them deal with their grief. If I was put into a situation where one of my family members or one of my best friends had died or was murdered, I personally would want the death penalty for them, not just for my relief of the pain, because I know that won't relieve my pain over their loss, but because I know that they won't be doing that to anybody else any longer, which I would really appreciate. Julie Heath was an 18-year-old in Arkansas and was sadly a victim of Eric Randall Nance in 1994. He ended up raping her and killing her after. Police found his DNA at the scene. He was sentenced to death penalty in 2005, and Julie's family said it was for what he did to her and how he treated her. Randall ended up being the last man put to death in Arkansas. Her family said they felt some type of closure about that monster in the world. Sanantham L. Source 1. So for this, I have a graph to show you. And this graph just shows you the percentages of and how many people were killed due to the death penalty in the United States at a time. And you can see that the most consistent times that where people were capital punishment, is in the 1990s right here. And that's where it was the most, consistent out of all of the times in the world. Now that we have talked about the emotional reason to put murderers to death, let's talk about the real reason that the death penalty is a good way to keep us safe. It's because it will keep them from committing even more crimes. In my first statement, I said that they would commit more crimes and all that. According to the Gallup poll in the 1990s, up to 80% of Americans favored the death penalty and believed it was a good idea. Even though we see a dramatic decrease in the numbers of people given the death penalty, many people still believe it is a good way to go. Sanantham L. Source 1. This will stop criminals who are already serving their sentence or are supposed to be serving life sentences in jail from hurting or killing even more people. If someone truly wanted to kill another human, they would find a way no matter where they are, even in jail. And then I have a picture of what most people would be in when they're getting the death penalty or capital punishment. So they strap them down and they do whatever they need to do next. Lastly, since a lot of people are worried about the criminals and saying that it is the worst way to die, the death penalty is probably the most painless and humane way to die. In the past, putting someone to death was not the easiest, and it was very painful. For example, some people would get electrocuted until they died. But as the world has evolved, there has been better ways for someone to die. So for those saying the death penalty is cruel and unusual are very wrong. The DPIC, Death Penalty Information Center, states that most 3 drug protocols use an anesthetic or sedative, followed by a drug to paralyze the inmate, and finally a drug to stop the heart, meaning that the drugs that they use allow for the person to not feel pain and for them to go peacefully. The DPIC source 2. And I have a small video for you to watch.
Has been replaced with the barbiturate pentobarbital. In a clinical setting, pentobarbital has been given gradually to stop a seizure. The second drug is pancuronium bromide, which surgeons use to effectively paralyze voluntary muscles all over the body, like the eyelids, biceps, and abdominal muscles, so they don't move during surgery. In an execution, pancuronium bromide is given in a dosage high enough to stop not only those muscles, but also the lungs and diaphragm. The third drug is potassium chloride. Doctors use it to treat people with dangerously low potassium levels, which can cause the heart muscles to malfunction. For executions, potassium chloride is given in a dose strong enough to stop the heart completely. All of these drugs are followed by a flush of saline solution to speed the flow of the drugs through the body.
So that video pretty much just explains how capital punishment works and shows you like how painless it can be for that person and everything. So Nancy Reagan stated that, "I believe that more people would be alive today if there was a death penalty." Nancy Reagan says this because the world would be a better place with the death penalty if the good and innocent people get to stay and live their lives, while the evil people get what they deserve. So in conclusion, the death penalty should and will stay around because it will give closure to the victims and their family, stop criminals from killing, and lastly, because it is painless for those convicted. The death penalty needs to stay to keep us all safe. Thank you.